Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the GREEN4SEA Ballast Water Forum of 2016. Ballast water management regulations, in one form or another, have been in force in some jurisdictions for some time, such as the United States. However, it is only recently, with the forthcoming implementation of the International Ballast Water Management Convention in September 2017, will we see a comprehensive global compliance regime to prevent ships from transferring invasive species around the world via their ballast water. Within the overall global ballast water management regimes, the primary concern will be to ensure that any ballast water management programs and technologies that are implemented by ship owners will meet the requirements as set forth by the IMO, the US Coast Guard, the US EPA, and the European Union. Thankfully, the European Union's requirements are to be, for the most part, in unison with those of the Ballast Water Management Convention. Therefore, the primary challenges for ship owners shall be threefold. First, meeting the requirements of the Convention that are to take effect on 8th of September 2017. Second, meeting the requirements of the U.S. Coast Guard that have already taken effect in 2012. And third, meeting the requirements of the U.S. EPA's Vessel General Permit due for amendment in 2018 that may or may not be unified with the IMO's guidelines for approval of ballast water management systems, otherwise known as IMO's G8 guidelines. In light of the forthcoming global regime for ballast water management, the American Club will express its views on the following subjects. First, what are the biggest challenges to ship owners in compliance with global ballast water management regulatory regimes? Second, what advice does the club have for ship owner members in the implementation of the Ballast Water Management Convention and regional regimes requirements such as those of the United States, and what might be the related P&I considerations? Third, what message does the American Club have for industry stakeholders towards implementation of these ballast water management regimes? What are the challenges for compliance with global ballast water management regulations? A 2015 U.S. court ruling found the EPA to have acted arbitrarily and capriciously in drafting the 2013 VGP ballast water discharge provisions, having not taken into consideration higher ballast water treatment standards than those of the IMO that are central to the quality of discharged water and not to the available technology of ballast water treatment systems. By 2018, the EPA are required to produce VGP regulatory amendments to address these concerns. Furthermore, the EPA can refuse results from any U.S. Coast Guard type-approved systems, even after such systems have been approved and have come online and are installed. There are significant differences in currently available ballast water treatment technologies, which use either electrolysis, UV light, ozonization, or chemical injection-based systems. Currently, these systems do not work consistently depending upon such factors as ballast water salinity, temperature, turbidity, ballast water tank sedimentation, and in particular in extreme conditions. Owners fear being blamed and held responsible by port state control authorities if these systems do not work. There are also other challenges, such as to prevent and control the growth of noxious substances over long ballast trips and address issues related to control, removal, and disposal of sediments that may accumulate in ballast tanks where invasive species may reside. To date, incidents of fraudulent testing have been seen in some Black Sea ports. Hopefully, unifying requirements and standardizing the implementation of ballast testing methods will gradually reduce incidents of arbitrary application of rules to prevent fraud. Ever-changing standards, or moving the goalposts, is what ship owners fear the most. Such uncertainties make it difficult for owners to pre-plan the installation of approved systems or experience difficulties in contracting for non-compliant equipment or experience log jams in ballast water treatment systems installations that can lead to missing compliance deadlines. As to the second question, what advice do we have for club members in the implementation of Ballast Water Management Convention and other similar regulations? We see that, first, Efforts to comply with ballast water management regulations may result in decreased ship stability or strength while in operation, and thereby increasing potential risk to the vessel, its crew, and/or the environment. Second, the inability to use ballast water treatment systems in particular areas may require course change deviations, which may prejudice a ship owner's P&I cover and/or affect the vessel's owner's right to limit liability under cargo liability and other regimes. Fines and penalties associated with noncompliance of ballast water management regulations, such as discharging in improper areas or failure to properly maintain the ballast water record book, fall outside of traditional P&I rules for fines and penalties when they are routine operational matters as opposed to accident-related. And fourth, there will be a higher likelihood that some ship owners will petition their club's directors for discretionary cover under omnibus or other discretionary provisions, as similar to experience following oily water separator prosecutions in the United States. It should be noted that P&I Club directors traditionally only grant such discretionary cover in a very limited number of cases and only due to exceptional circumstances, not generic garden variety operational situations. For example, a ballast water penalty imposed after a casualty versus improper ballast water dumping in prohibited areas as part of the general operations of a vessel. Furthermore, charter parties usually require vessels to be in compliance with all applicable laws and regulations. As discussed previously, any inconsistencies in regulations and enforcement within the U.S., for example between the U.S. EPA and Coast Guard, or between other jurisdictions worldwide, will lead to contractual disputes on whether such compliance obligations have been met. Charter party disputes stemming from a vessel's inability to fully load cargo due to problems arising from ballast water management systems can lead to, for example, possible dead freight claims for a voyage charter party, a vessel being considered off-hire for a time charter party, or other contractual breaches. Oil majors' vetting requirements are currently unclear as to how oil majors, as charters, view such ballast water management compliance issues and the effects that these regulations will have on their vetting requirements. For risk considerations associated with freight, defense, and demurrage, or FD&D, the repositioning of vessels to discharge ballast water in non-prohibited areas may spawn disputes over fuel consumption, the vessel being considered off-hire, and possible deviation arguments can surface. Second, clubs may see requests for general discretionary FD&D cover for initial defense of investigations of potential ballast water management non-compliance situations. It should be noted that P&I clubs may use such a flexible approach to assist a member in the early days when enforcement is somewhat nebulous between particular agencies, such as the EPA and U.S. Coast Guard. As to the last question, what message does the American Club have for industry stakeholders? First, there seems to be progress on the amendments of the IMO G8 guidelines scheduled for adoption in 2018. They should become interchangeable with the U.S. Coast Guard regulations. Hopefully, the U.S. EPA will also follow a similar path. Owners should stay informed on any progress being made in this capacity. Second, weak freight rates, declining asset values, eroded profitability, and reduced cash balance has forced ship owners to reduce costs wherever possible. Unfortunately, this is a trend that is expected to continue into 2017. The cost of installing ballast water treatment systems will not be cheap, resulting in further financial pressures upon the ship owners. States should appreciate the efforts of ship owners who have already installed systems and not penalize them for being proactive for having used the best available technology at the time. Third, there are significant challenges to ballast water treatment system vendors. It is clear that vendors who want to remain in the business should apply for testing to meet U.S. Coast Guard standards and the forthcoming 2018 IMO G8 standards. And fourth, service providers, including manufacturers and classification societies, should assist in evaluating ship-specific ballast water treatment systems and advise owners on all aspects of suitability including the pros and cons of these systems prior to choosing the system to be installed. In summary, inconsistencies in the changing regulatory landscape, as well as differences in enforcement of such ballast water management regimes, present challenges to ship owners to ensure compliance. Vessel owners and operators must use their best efforts to comply with existing ballast water management regulations in jurisdictions where they expect to call. Prior to making U.S. port calls, American Club members have had a history of being very proactive in consulting with the club's managers relating to MARPOL Annex 1 compliance of their oily water separator systems. We encourage American Club members to also work proactively with their managers to comply with U.S. ballast water management regulations. It is encouraging that earlier this month the U.S. Coast Guard approved its first ballast water management treatment system, and there are hopes that there are more of these to come in 2017. Be proactive. Coordinate with your company's technical departments, P&I clubs, local agents, classification societies, and other consultants and experts to stay abreast of any new ballast water management developments. Finally, consult with your P&I club and retain lawyers to review contractual terms and conditions for charter parties and other shipping agreements to ensure they are as favorable as possible with respect to these ballast water management issues. Thank you for your attention, Efharisto, and happy holidays.